stand up and not stand by? Who will listen to the river cry? Who will stand up and not stand by? Who will listen to the river cry? Who will stand up and not stand by?
From your backyard to the nearest creek, from a small stream to a mighty river, from the great father of waters to the Gulf of Mexico, the streams and rivers of the American Midwest are in dire straits and in need of your help. Is there anything one person can do to make a difference? What is killing the river? What is the root of the problem from a historical perspective? Is it too late? Is the river already dead? Are you willing to give the river mouth-to-mouth resuscitation if that's what it takes? And the most important question, who am I? Brian Fox Ellis. I'm an author and storyteller and freelance reporter, and I'm here today to ask the difficult questions so you don't have to. Unless I say, well, I have to ask, that's your cue. I'd like you to say, what can I do about it before next Tuesday? Let's practice. Ready? Well, I have to ask, what can I do about it before next Tuesday? That was good. Now don't forget. Today we've gathered some of the experts to ask them those difficult questions. Well, we've gathered the experts who were available and the ones that we could afford. And we'll talk to anyone or anything that will answer our questions. Is there something that you can do to make a difference in the life of the river? Is there something that we can do to save the river's life and save our life in the bargain? I think I see our first guest coming downstream right now. Hey there, matey. Permission to come aboard.
Sure, come on in. I'm just getting ready to go fishing, though. We're going to take a ride.
Oh, great.
Here, safety first.
So you must be that commercial fisherman, I assume.
Well, you can presume what you like. I've been fishing on this river for more than 30 years. 5 generations of my family were commercial fishermen on this river. My father, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and my great-great-grandfather all helped to feed America and make some pretty good cat food.
Well, that's wonderful, because I've been looking for a historical perspective. For example, what kind of fish did your great-great-great-great-grandfather catch?
That's a great question and a good place to start. He caught what you would call game fish. Sturgeon, largemouth bass, sunfish, channel catfish, and buffalo.
Buffalo? Was he a buffalo hunter or a fisherman?
Buffalo is a kind of carp.
So what kind of fish are you catching that's different from what your great-grandfather caught?
Well, we catch a lot of silver carp and bighead carp, buffalo and brown carp, those Asian carp. They grow to be 50 to 60 pounds in just a few seasons, rip holes in our nets.
Oh, I was here for the Asian Carp Symposium.
What, those fish have their own symposium now?
Yes, and the keynote speaker from China said in China they're not a problem because we eat them.
So freshwater cod, not carp.
McFish sandwiches, sushi anybody? Is it true what I've heard that folks have been knocked out cold with a broken nose because of these flying carp?
Well, there may be a bit of a fishtail, but a friend of mine once told me that he got hit in the face by a carp, knocked him clean out of the boat, and he drowned.
That'll teach him a lesson.
Well, what lesson is that? Well, anyway, I don't know what the solution is to this Asian invasion of carp.
Unless we all start eating carp. Carp for lunch, anyone?
Well, I don't know about that, but there's still the 1-2 punch of pollution and siltation.
How have pollution and siltation affected the fisheries?
Well, for over 100 years, people have dumped raw waste and chemicals right into the river.
Sounds like a delicious soup of benzene and urine. Could you imagine 10,000 toilets all flushing at once?
True. But thanks to the Clean Water Act of the early 1970s, we've cleaned up a lot of that source of pollution. The real problem comes with non-point source pollution.
What? Non-point source pollution? What's that?
Farm runoff, lawn chemicals, and other things that are a little harder to put your finger on.
Well, I have to ask.
What can I do about it before next Tuesday?
Here's what you can do. Go down to the river and go fishing with your family. Learn to love the river. You'll never care for anything until you learn to love it. And write your congressman. Ask him to enforce the Clean Water Act with more monitoring and higher penalties. If it's cheaper for you to continue what you're doing than to clean up your act, well, then the fines need to be steeper. And as far as non-point source pollution, why, the answer's literally right in your own backyard. Manage your lawn water runoff and stop using chemicals. Recycle as much as you can.
Singing the catfish blues.
Well, thank you, sir, and good luck fishing.
Bringing you the news. Well, I've been floating down this river 7 years and 4 I've seen a lot of changes. I hope to see some more. Chicago sewer is my river, a river of my dirty dreams. Industrial pollution, a nightmare's what I mean. Imagine swimming in a soup so dark and murky black, a soup of chemicals and poop and oxygen it lacks. 'Cause I'm a catfish, singing the catfish blues. I'm a catfish, bringing you the news. Well, Asian carp, they eat my food and take up all my space. Competitive displacement stares me in the face. Goby fish, they eat my food so I can reproduce. Invasive species are a pain in my slimy old caboose. 'Cause I'm a catfish, singing the catfish blues. I'm a catfish, bringing you the news. Well, you don't know no trouble till you know the trouble I'm in. My brother caught a hook in the face and someone took his skin. He ended up on your dinner plate. I hope it tasted good. My mama was your meal last night. Don't look at me like I'm food. 'Cause I'm a catfish, singing the catfish blues. I'm a catfish, bringing you the news. I'm a catfish, singing the catfish blues. I'm a catfish, I'm bringing you the news. I'm a catfish.
Our next guest is the pilot of a river barge. Good afternoon, sir. Are you that riverboat pilot that I've heard so much about?
Well, it depends on what you've heard. My family's been piloting boats on the river for 5 generations now. There may have been some pirating back in the day.
Well, Captain, I've heard that you were part of the problem, not the solution.
Who told you that? I'll string him up. I'll draw and quarter him. What? I'll keel haul him.
Maybe you are a pirate.
You can make all the snide comments you want, but the source of your information obviously doesn't know his face from a hole in the ground. Why, every single town along this river became a bustling seaport, and many still are. And because the Illinois River links the Great Lakes with the St. Lawrence Seaway and the Mississippi and New Orleans, it's still one of the world's most important economic waterways. Why, last year alone, 44 million tons of cargo transported down this river. Now, that translates to billions of dollars worth of cargo, jobs in transportation, fuel sales. Imagine a boat pushing 15 barges down the river, pushing 22,500 tons worth of cargo. Well, that's the same as 275 freight cars occupying 2 3/4 miles worth of railroad track, or 870 diesel trucks covering 35 miles worth of highway congestion. Now, which of those 3 do you think would produce the least amount of pollution? River barges are the safest mode of transportation.
Okay, I agree. Good points. But let's not get away from the silt and erosion. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Gladly.
Well, then, we have to ask.
What can I do about it before next Tuesday?
Well, that's a great question. And I have thought about this for quite a while, and I've come up with a win-win solution.
Ooh, win-win. Everybody wins.
All right, you're always the funny man. I got it. But look, this is what you can do. Write your congressman. Write the Army Corps of Engineers. Write anyone who will listen. Get involved in your democracy and engaged in the debate about lock enhancement. But insist that a portion of the funds be set aside for wetlands restoration.
Well, I think I will. And thank you, Captain. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Harg, matey. Grab a mop on the way down.
Our next guest is an avid bird watcher, an active member of the Audubon Society who participates in their annual Christmas bird count. I'm so glad I could catch up to you this morning.
Shush! Here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The Illinois River Valley is one of the most important migratory bird routes in the world, and this is the peak of spring migration. On a good day, you can see more than 150 species of birds, if you can be quiet. Look, there. 3 tom turkeys are strutting an illustrious wag of tail feathers, warbling a love song boasting of their fecundity, while 3 large hens walk away uninterested. You know and I know why they dance.
Ooh, my mom always said she's going to talk to me about the birds and the bees.
The toms follow the hens to the edge of the forest, still strutting. I wonder, though, are they showing off as much for each other as for the hens? And I wonder if all this strutting and warbling does not also catch the eye of the coyote. Oh, how blinded by love are these teenagers to risk death for such a slim chance to procreate.
Tell me more.
Look, there, high in a red maple, reflecting sunset colors, a rose-breasted grosbeak shrieks for attention, calls for a mate, wards off potential rival suitors.
What's that?
That is a pileated woodpecker. He's not pounding a dead cottonwood looking for larvae. Oh, that passionate pounding, rhythmic drumming is a primal love song. Oh, look over there. A beautiful yellow rump. And a yellow throat.
What are we talking about here?
Birds, you ninny.
Yellow rumps, yellow throats?
Warblers. These birds live here, raise their young here, and fly south for the winter. Most people think that it's the other way around, but if they like the forests of Latin America so much, why don't they stay there?
I don't know, but I have a feeling that you're going to tell me.
They make the long journey here to the Illinois River Valley because it was, and might yet again be, a rich, fertile valley filled with food to raise their young. They mate and raise their young here.
Now I know why birding is so hot.
What?
Well, let's talk about courtship and mating.
Yes, but don't forget that mating leads to 18 years of raising young. I digress. On a good spring morning, you can see several species of songbirds. The Kentucky warbler, black and white warbler, yellow warbler, Louisiana water thrush, and the American redstart. We see dowitchers, Hudsonian godwits, phalaropes, semi-palmated sandpipers, and ruddy turnstones.
So what's the problem?
Well, it is mostly habitat destruction, the draining of wetlands, the plowing of prairies. What some people call development is actually destroying many of the habitats of most of these birds.
So I guess I have to ask.
What can I do about it before next Tuesday?
There is a lot you can do. Spend more time outside simply enjoying the birds. Join the annual bird counts through your local Audubon Society, e-birding, or at Cornell Labs. Putting out bird seed and building bird houses is a great start, but go one step further and plant bird-friendly native flowers, trees, shrubs, their own natural food and shelter. Turn your yard into a bird haven and encourage your friends to do the same. Shush!
Lady, I'm tired of you shushing me. You're the one doing most of the talking anyhow.
Shush! Look, over there. Near the sandhill cranes, a whooping crane. One of the most endangered birds in the world has recently been seen migrating through here.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Long legs for stalking in the shallow swamp. A long neck and wings for long-distance aerodynamic flight. A long beak for snatching up frogs and fish, snakes and mice. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I am the whooping crane. I dance when the earth rises, when the snow melt floods the rising creek. I dance when the sun rises, when the flocks of birds rise from the prairies, rising from the Everglades to the great north woods. I dance in the prairie grasses, my head bobbing like cattails in a spring storm, wings extended, long legs strutting. I dance. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Hey, was that you shooting at that endangered whooping crane?
No, I may be hungry, but I'm not foolish. There's serious fines and even jail time for anybody who messes with an endangered species. And besides, duck hunters know their birds better than some amateur bird watcher.
So you are a duck hunter?
Yep, I sure am. My family's been hunting out here for 5 generations. My great-great-grandfather was a market hunter. He used to have a small cannon mounted on the front of his boat and an 8-gauge double-barreled shotgun. Why, he'd shoot as many as 200 ducks a day, put them on a train, ship them to Chicago, and they'd end up on a table for some fancy restaurant that night.
I hate to ask the obvious question, but do you think it's a good idea to shoot 200 ducks a day?
Duh, what do you think? No, market hunters made some serious mistakes and did some serious damage, but there's a side to this story that most people don't know. We as hunters realized what we were doing. And Aldo Leopold, the father of the modern conservation movement, was himself a duck hunter. And we helped create the regulations on hunting to ensure future populations of ducks. And there's always been a few bad apples. You know, people that don't obey the law. You call them poachers. I call them scumbags. But most hunters, they follow the letter of the law because what's good for ducks is also good for us.
Ah, Maslowian selfish selflessness.
What does a Russian Jewish psychologist have to do with anything? I'm talking ducks and geese here. Besides, there's 2 other factors to consider. Ecotourism is a growing trend around here. Hooks and bullets tourism, hunting and fishing. A lot of people come in for that. It's a major shot in the arm for the local community. Hundreds of thousands of dollars are spent every year right here on license fees, equipment, hotels, and restaurants. People come from far and wide to hunt and fish right along this beautiful Illinois River. Well, Presidents Grover Cleveland and Benjamin Harrison hunted ducks along the Illinois. And there are other things that duck hunters have done to preserve thousands of acres of wetland along the river. The idea of setting aside acreage, well, that started right here on the Illinois River at the Grand Isle Hunt Club south of Beardstown. Private Gun Club established one of the first preserves where hunters could not hunt.
How ironic that duck hunters would ban duck hunting.
You're missing my point. Again, what's good for the duck hunters is good for the ducks. Now, the idea of preserving property is common practice all over the country. Recently, Ducks Unlimited partnered up with the Nature Conservancy and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to establish huge preserves along the river. When you protect land for ducks, you're also preserving habitat for hundreds of other species of birds, mammals, fish, reptiles, amphibians, and insects.
How are duck numbers different today compared to the past?
Well, that's a tough question. Some have increased because of better management, like Canada geese and mallards and pintails and things like that. But some their numbers have dropped precipitously. Greater and lesser scaup, they're in serious trouble.
What is the problem?
Well, it ain't overhunting because hunters are strictly regulated. It's loss of habitat. Drained wetlands, cleared forests, dried up swamps.
Well, I have to ask.
What can I do about it before next Tuesday?
Well, you can support the preservation of habitat, the restoration of wetlands. Join Ducks Unlimited. Some folks, they buy an annual duck stamp even if they don't hunt because the proceeds help the federal government buy land. Students, well, they can also enter their original art in the Junior Duck Stamp Contest.
Oh, there go the water skiers I've been looking for. I've got to run. Thanks for your time.
Bye-bye.
Hey, where are you guys zipping off to?
I don't know, dude. Hey, babe, where are we going?
Oh, I don't know, babe. Wherever the river takes us.
Well, I guess I'm along for the ride. So, how long you been water skiing down this river?
Oh, dude, for 5 generations. My family's been...
No, I think he means like today, about an hour.
Oh, yeah. But I do gotta say that the river's a lot cleaner today than it was when I was a kid. Man, we used to find like raw sewage.
No. I've heard enough about poop from the catfish's point of view.
Oh, well, let me say that when we were kids, you were like never sure what you would run into if you were like swimming or water skiing on the river.
What are some of the other problems you've encountered along the way?
Oh, last time we got gas for our boat, we found like a little oil slick near the fueling station.
Oh, man, and those little oil slicks, dude, they like really add up over the summer and you got like a huge, like major oil spill. Individual boaters need to be a lot more careful. Hey, babe, you want some bottled water?
Wait, here we are in the midst of the largest freshwater system in the world, and you guys are drinking imported, exotic bottled water?
Would you like drink out of the Illinois River?
No, not directly, but if it weren't clean enough, if it weren't safe, the Illinois American Water Company couldn't pipe it to your house. It's amazing. The most abundant element, water, most necessary for life, water. There's lots of it here, and yet we're importing it from faraway places.
Dude, does this water taste better? Is it worth more? It says it comes from a municipal water source. Babe, that's tap water!
Are we like paying for the bottle? Are we like paying for the shipping costs?
Think about it. All the pollution generated with these bottles littered all over the place, and the energy it takes to transport this very heavy element.
Well, I have to ask.
What can we do about it before next Tuesday?
Well, maybe if we invested a little bit of what we spend on bottled water on cleaning up the river, we could make a major difference in the quality of our water supply. Oh, wait. Oh, we have breaking news. The Illinois River's at a flash flood. Our ace reporter's on the bank of the river. Let's cut now to a live news feed. I'm here on the banks of the Illinois River during its annual flood pulse. Thump, 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 thump. So what do you mean when you say flood pulse? Well, the flood pulse means every spring, with the snow melt, the supersaturated soils, and the spring rain, the river overflows its banks. Then during the summer, with the drought, it will slowly recede. In the fall, with a second wave of rain, it floods again, and then during the winter, it recedes. Thump, 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 thump. This flood pulse is somewhat unique in the world. I can think of only 2 other rivers, the Mekong in China and the Nile River in Africa. But this year, the flood is much worse than usual. Maybe not as bad as the historic flood of 1993, but it's expected to crest at more than 20 feet in the next few days. This is really set up to be a whopper. What is the cause of the problem? I'm having trouble hearing you. One more time? What is the cause of the problem? Well, the cause of this flood seems to be man-made development. If you think about your body as the Illinois River begins over here near your left nipple and flows across your chest and then down your right leg into the Mississippi River. And with the clearing of the forest and the plowing of the prairie, the watershed doesn't hold on to that rain anymore. Now, if you think about your body as Illinois, historically, Illinois was 50% prairie and 50% forest. I know we're called the prairie state, but historically, all the rivers were lined with thick forest, and we've cleared a lot of that land. Actually, All the prairie that's left is 0.01%, less than 1/100th of 1%. That'd be about the same amount of hair inside on your left nostril. And all the forest that's left is maybe 15%, a nice mohawk haircut. But not enough to hold soil, not enough to capture and slow down the rain. So all of these spring rains are rushing to the river, causing the flooding. Also with the draining of wetlands, with the plowing of the prairie, the clear cutting of the forest, and all of the development, the parking lots and roofs, flooding is really an incredible problem here on the river. Well, I have to ask. I'm having trouble hearing you. Those kids mumbling in the background. Could you say it one more time, a little louder this time?
You heard the man. Say it as loud as you can. Well, I have to ask.
What can I do about it before next Tuesday?
Excellent question. What can you do about it? Well, I'll tell you. Begin to think about the river as a watershed. I know that's a big concept, but if you go back to your body, and your body being the Illinois River, the river is much more than one vein or artery. It's every vein, every artery, every capillary. Think about your body as Illinois. It used to be half forest, half prairie, and we've clear-cut most of it. So the easiest thing to do is to begin to replant some of the forest. Think about the river as a watershed. That little creek in your backyard is part of the Illinois River. Your lawn, the parking lot, and your street is part of the Illinois River. So if you replant the forest, if you replant the prairie, plow up your lawn and plant native prairie flowers. Instead of curb and gutter the parking lots, create green swaths in the parking lot to absorb the rain. Where your gutter off of your house drains, plant a rain garden. When you begin to think about the river as a watershed, then you can begin to see lots of things that you can do to make a difference in the health of the river.
Thanks, Fox, for that report. Now we're heading off to Kickapoo Creek and our kayaker.
Hey, you want to explore this tributary?
I'd love to.
Hey, you ever been on the Kickapoo Creek?
Not another poo, Joe.
No. The Kickapoo Creek was named after the Native Americans who lived here. You know, like the Illinois River.
Oh. Okay.
So, do you want to paddle?
Who?
No. You want to keep on kayaking.
Of course, that's why I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, I got this crazy friend who asked me to go kayaking on the Kickapoo Creek when it was a raging river in the spring flood. Now, he'd recently published an article about linking together like Wildlife Prairie Park and Jubilee College State Park with some other municipal parks, connecting them with a hiking, biking, canoeing trail. And I wanted to check it out. I thought it was a good idea. Now imagine you're paddling down this creek and the water is pushing you really fast and you don't have good control over the boat. Well, I get caught up in a log jam and flipped over and get stuck under the log jam, and I look up, I'm standing on the bottom and I look up and there's nothing but an overturned boat and logs everywhere I look. I knew I was gonna drown, I knew I was gonna die. And all of a sudden I slowed down in my thought process and I started thinking, there's an air bubble under that boat. So I went up and I got a big, huge breath of air. And then I went back down and looked around and I could see there was an opening way down to this side. And I swam to it and I came up and I was able to breathe. I couldn't believe it. Well, I lost my hat and I wear contact lenses. Well, I lost one of those. I lost my water bottle, but I didn't lose my life. The river spared me that day and I learned an awful lot about kayaking from it.
Wow, that's a great story. I'm glad you're still alive, but what does that have to do with the problems of the tributaries?
Well, you see, erosion is natural. Beaver dams, log jams, they help catch silt and keep it out of the river. And this near-death experience, well, that showed me how valuable one life was, my life, your life, and maybe all of us working together can help clean up these rivers. The rivers are a powerful natural force, and this helped me see the importance of just how great they are in our lives.
Well, I have to ask.
What can I do about it before next Tuesday?
Well, you can get to know the river personally, spend time kayaking or canoeing with your family. You can plant trees along the shoreline to help stop erosion. And like your ace reporter said before he drowned, think of the river like a watershed. Think of the watershed like the river of life and how the tributaries and streams contribute to that. and learn to listen to the river. Become a voice for the river.
Wow, that was simply amazing. And I'm so glad you are here to share this, to really hear the voices of the river. And what are you going to do about it before next Tuesday? Take these stories home and share them with your friends. And most important, get out and enjoy the river in your own backyard, because you can make a difference.
I remember as a boy hunting with my old granddad. 100 ducks between us, the feasting made us glad. The ducks and geese, their numbers dropped as the land was plowed and drained. So we made a choice to restore the swamps, the wetlands were reclaimed. Who will listen to the river cry? Who will stand up and not stand by?
Volunteers like you, that over 50,000 people come out and help us. Moved close to 6 million
this
pounds.
river for more than 30 years, driving barges through the dreamy fog for more than 30 years. I've seen the river at its worst and many sunny days. If we listen to the river, it will help us change our ways. Who will listen to the river cry? Who will stand up and not stand by?
I dream of days when birds now gone filled the river sky. We've seen the eagles' numbers plunge and bounce back soaring high. I've listened to the river song in the voice of thrush and wren, and I'm working hard till whooping cranes dance their dance again.
Who will listen to the river cry? Who will stand up and not stand by?
My granddad hauled in tons and tons of prime game fish and clams. The fisheries soon disappeared with the plague of silt and dams. Now we have the Asian carp without a natural foe. I ask, what will the future hold? Only the river knows.
Who will listen to the river cry? Who will stand up and not stand by? Who will listen to the river cry? Who will stand up and not stand by? Who will listen to the river cry? Who will stand up and not stand by?